So like ever since like Kamala Harris lost, people have been playing the blame game. You know, people blame Biden, people blamed the voters, we're uninformed, that type of thing. But people didn't really want to point their fingers at Kamala for not running a great campaign, right? So there's that too as well. Not running a strong, working class agenda, etc. Bernie made the blue point for this. Now they're blaming somebody else. Now, and in fact, it's Kamala blaming somebody else. Now she's pointing the finger like that at someone else. First, I want to remind you what Van Jones said on this panel after she lost. Listen to this.
But, it all came down to many, many things, right? But when you look at the actual votes, it wasn't as if Trump suddenly surged in so many things. Yes. It's that Democrats did worse. Monmouth went through just the blue states. Trump got an extra 280,000 votes this time versus last time, so he improved. Yep, but this is not the story. Look at this full screen. Yeah, Harris lost 3,339,404 votes. Yes. That's what stands out there.
Well, Bakari Sellers said over and over again, it's either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump or the couch.
And it was more than that. This was at that time. So just FYI.
Bakari was always worried about the couch. People just not feeling inspired enough to go out and vote. He wasn't worried that people were going to not vote for Kamala and go vote for Trump. He was afraid they weren't going to vote at all. And here's how we got beat. We got beat because the Republicans and the conservatives built a different media system that had to do with online, had to do with podcasts, had to do with streaming platforms, and they were spending their money there. We were laughing at them. And knocking on doors in Philadelphia and Detroit, it's like, there's no Trump people. They're not dropping literature. They're not knocking on doors.
In fact, it was laughing like, oh, Elon Musk and Charlie Kirk, but their PACs don't know what they're doing.
We were making fun of Donald Trump for having thrown away his ground game and doing some weird stuff online. We thought that they were idiots. It turned out we were the idiots. We woke up in a body bag because while we were knocking on doors, they were making these phones into 24-hour-a-day political weapons for themselves. And so we got outflanked, outplayed, outbeat by people who told us the whole time that they knew what they were doing. And people are mad. And Future Forward, all these different groups that vacuumed up all this money and told everybody to sit down and shut up are going to be in for an accountability session from the grassroots, and it is coming.
I remember when you...
We'll pause here for a second. So Van Jones was... man enough to admit we got outplayed, outflanked. Yeah. I mean, at least he was able to admit it. It's just, I felt like that was one of the more honest answers, right? And he found a way to say it without pointing his finger directly at Kamala. Everybody noticed that, right? So doesn't want to mention the Gaza issue, at least not at that point in time. We're going a little bit more here, and I'll tell you who she's blaming now.
You and I were speaking at one point earlier. You were talking about algorithms, all kinds of data that was available that you were, people were going to be presenting to the Harris campaign.
Sure.
And I suppose you're going to say that did fall on deaf ears to large part?
Yeah, Van's right. They were like, we've got it.
We've got it.
And they didn't have it. And one very obvious missed opportunity is that Joe Rogan has the biggest audience in the country. It's disaffected, low propensity men, kind of the audience that the Harris campaign should be trying to reach. It was much more upside than anything else. Kamala goes on, Tim Walz goes on, and then you have millions of men who are exposed to the Democratic message, and they turned it down because she was too busy. I mean, like it makes zero sense, except in the context that the team just didn't have confidence in her to do it, which would be its own issue.
Unless you think he's being mean. 48 million views for the Rogan-Trump interview on YouTube alone.
Which was what, a 3-hour interview?
A 3-hour interview with 48 million views. Like, they were laughing.
That's 2/3 of the total number of votes that Harris.
Yeah, so
it's more than debate, I think. It's like 1 million
Can I jump in here?
Yeah, Lulu.
I'm very happy that everyone's talking here about the information ecosystem. Obviously, it's incredibly important. So is Joe Rogan. But there's two issues here. One is the message, and the other is the messenger. And so, and how those messages are delivered. And so, there is a lot of discussion right now about the ground game and and how you reach voters and all these things. And I think that's going to be parsed. But, you know, voters told the Democratic Party over and over and over again that their main issues were their pocketbooks, inflation, and immigration. And that was what they told them.
Yep.
And the closing message of the Democratic Party was democracy and Donald Trump is a bad man.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, she hit the nail on the head there. And then later on, after the election, there was a poll that showed that, which we covered on the show, that apparently some of the people who voted for Biden did not come back out to vote for Kamala because of the Gaza issue, which the Democratic Party just tried to pretend like they really didn't have to listen to the people about. So there was that as well. However, ladies and gentlemen, it's going down. Oh, yeah, it's going down because now Kamala is blaming somebody else. Kamala is blaming Doug. Dougie Doug. It's a doggy dog world. Kamala is blaming her own husband, Doug. It's Doug's fault. You did it, damn it. Let's get into this here. Inside former VP Kamala Harris marriage turmoil as Doug Emhoff scandals are blamed for losing the presidency. Oh, buddy, Dougie Doug. Kamala Harris was all smiles and affection to her beloved second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, in the immediate aftermath of her crushing presidential election defeat. But now that President Donald Trump has been sworn into office, for sore loser Harris, they said sore loser Harris. Wow. It is now all about the blame game, and her target has flipped to her dead weight husband. And as she weighs her political future, maybe a 2026 run for governor of California or another try at the nation's top job 2 years later, she has to consider whether Emhoff is an asset or a liability. One source exclusively told thedailymail.com there's plenty of blame to go around as far as Kamala is concerned, and Doug has his share. Doug did Kamala no favors during the election. Frankly, he looked like a hypocritical ass after the bombshells that he had got his child nanny pregnant while married to his first wife and assaulted his ex-girlfriend on the heels of his I Am Woman crusade. Allegedly. So I guess now this source says that Kamala is blaming Doug for his scandals and believes, I guess this is why she did not win. Let me tell you something, Kamala. You may not believe this or not, but most people didn't even know who Doug was. Sorry, just reality. Most people weren't paying attention to all of that. Okay, so I don't know. Most people weren't paying attention to Dougie Doug. And I don't think most people even knew Doug's name. So I don't know. Now, there are some issues with Doug. We're not going to say there aren't. But I don't know if he is the reason why, or you should blame him for the reason why you lost. Despite their brave united front at the inauguration and at President Jimmy Carter's January 9th funeral, those close to the couple believe all is not hunky-dory between them. What is going on with everybody's relationships after this election, fam? First, we talked about Michelle and Barack Obama, and we're like, where the hell is Michelle? What is going on, right? Michelle's everywhere but here. We talked about that. I'm not even going to get into the Jennifer Aniston stuff. I have no proof over that. I think it's just a rumor. And now Kamala and Doug are having problems. And word is the husband of California girl Kamala has already signed up for a job with a Big Apple law firm, which will require them to split their time between New York and Los Angeles. Uh-oh. That's never good. That is not a good one. At Monday's presidential inauguration, the couple presented a united front, though their expressions remained grim as they sat through Trump's speech, their faces mirroring the tension. So it's like, it's like you can cut that tension with a knife. Why did you say this, Chuck? You guys are so funny. GM says Doug has no lips. Tisha said dirty dog. Oh, Doug, they don't like you. Let's go on here. Oh my gosh. And there's Doug there with what I believe is there. That is a close up. I guess they were zooming in to see if he still had on his wedding ring. That was funny. But let's get to this part here. Harris wearing a black pantsuit with exposed zippers sat stoically throughout the ceremony, holding an inaugural program in her lap. She was seen crossing her wrists and pinching the program in her fingers as Trump delivered his address, of course. Imhoff similarly matched the disdain on his wife's face, but took it a step further, grimacing and shaking his head lightly when Trump promised to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. The couple left the Capitol building together, briefly shaking hands with Trump and bidding Joe and Jill Biden farewell, with plans to return to California. But now that Harris has been defeated, she's reportedly looking to undergo a complete image overhaul. Wow. To resuscitate her floundering political career, maybe at the expense of Imhoff. Daily Mail exclusively reported she plans to write a book, of course, which could give her finances a multi-million-dollar boost. Harris's campaign suffered multiple setbacks after DailyMail.com exclusively reported a series of allegations surrounding Imhoff that Harris deftly brushed aside during the final stretch of her political journey. So here's my take, guys. I think that when those accusations came out, Kamala was running for office. I think Kamala should have responded, and she didn't. Like, it would have been different if this came out and she wasn't running for president, but you were running for president. So I think she should have responded to that. Instead, she just ignored it. But again, I will say, I don't think a lot of people even knew who Doug was. So there's that. Continuing on, he goes on to say here, man, a lot of people relationships are having problems after this campaign. This is a doozy. Imhoff famously stepped away from his own prominent career as an attorney in California to fully support Harris' political ambitions in 2020, becoming hell-bent on perfecting his image as a wife guy. A wife guy. That's what we're calling it nowadays, huh? But behind the carefully curated social media posts and campaign photos, even the strongest relationships face challenges. The source said, I see the signs that all are not hunky-dory in the Harris household. It's not like she hasn't had men help further her political career before, the source said, referring to her affair with downtown Willie Brown. But what does Doug do for her now? Oh, no. This is a good question. So maybe it could be that now Kamala's sitting back and she's saying, what have you done for me lately, Doug? What have you done for me lately? Ooh, that kind of thing. That song's by Janet Jackson is interesting enough because a lot of people turned on Janet Jackson when she said that she didn't believe that Kamala Harris was a Black American. So funny how that happens. Continuing on, I was with her last week when she was signing her desk. Her former communications chief, Ashley Atine, told DailyMail.com, and it goes on here. Oh, Doug. It's a Dougie Doug world. And these are some of the pictures. So listen to this, okay? It says, Doug cheated on his first wife, Najeen Naylor, who also taught at their children's pricey private school. Okay. And then we can see here, when Kirsten split from Imhoff, her daughter Ella was finishing the 3rd grade. Naylor was Ella's nanny at the time. She told me You know me well enough to know that I'm not going to go away quietly. This is coming from Kamala Harris. Over the summer, DailyMail.com exclusively reported a series of allegations surrounding Imhoff that Harris attempted to brush aside during the final stretch of her political journey. In August, we reported Imhoff had an affair with Najeen Naylor, his daughter's nanny, while still married to his first wife, film producer Kirsten Mackin, an illicit fling that allegedly resulted in a pregnancy and a subsequent miscarriage. Jesus Christ. So Doug came with some baggage. That's what it sounds like. A source claimed that Doug paid Naylor $80,000 in exchange for her signing a non-disclosure agreement, and that the affair played a part in his 2009 divorce. But the controversy didn't end there. In October, a former girlfriend of Imhoff's came forward alleging a disturbing incident during an A-list event in Cannes, France in May 2012. According to her, Imhoff slapped her so hard in the face after he thought she was flirting with another man that the blow spun her around, leaving her shocked and disoriented. So according to all this, allegedly, Doug likes to hit women. Dougie Doug world. Okay. All righty. Says Kamala Harris's husband, Doug, is accused of violently striking his former girlfriend. So that was that part there. And then here's a email here, says found in sent mailbox. Hi, sweetie. We aren't staying at the, did we get the E there? We aren't staying at the Negresco because the rooms they still had available were uber expensive. However, I was able to book a room at Concord, which is just a couple of blocks on the same street. Yada, yada. The Negresco is at yada, yada, yada. I've also attached our itinerary. Unfortunately, we will have to leave a day earlier than you so that Doug can be back in LA for his daughter's birthday. Smooches. It says that is from May 17th, 2012, email provided by the friends, written by his then girlfriend, gives the location of the hotel in Nice. The couple stayed at on the weekend he allegedly struck her. Okay, so they got some receipts to show that she was, I guess, there at that time. He comes up, turns me around by my right shoulder. I'm completely caught off guard. I'm not bracing. I'm in 4-inch heels, wearing a full-length gown, and it's been 2 to 3 a.m. He slaps me so hard, I spin around and I am in utter shock. Oh, thank you, Welch's Nice, France. Thank you. So allegedly, he hit her that hard. Who is Doug? Right? Who is Doug? It goes on to say Imhoff has since admitted the extramarital affair, saying, during my first marriage, Kirsten and I went through some tough times on account of my actions. I took responsibility, and in the years since, we worked through things as a family and have come out stronger on the other side. But he has denied through an anonymous spokesperson ever having slapped his girlfriend. Any suggestion that Doug would or has ever hit a woman is false. So that's why we say allegedly. Imhoff also faced reports from his former colleagues at the LA law firm, Venable, where he worked from 2006 and 2017. They described a work culture marked by misogyny, claiming that Imhoff allegedly yelled expletives, held a man-only cocktail hour in the office, revoked work perks from women who didn't flirt with him, and preferred only young, attractive associates to accompany him in limousines to professional events. Who is Doug? Harris has never publicly commented on any of the allegations, instead choosing to shy away from the controversy. But the Democrats' golden girl, known for her relentless drive, is now tarnished and has has to face the reality of her marriage potentially crumbling following her loss to Donald Trump. So I don't know, guys. Again, these are accusations. We have no proof that he's guilty. But the reality is, I think, fam, I think that Kamala is looking for other people to blame other than herself. That's kind of how I see it. Now, don't get me wrong, like the Democratic Party, Democrat leadership as a whole, their hands aren't clean in this either. But I do think that Kamala did not follow Bernie Sanders' blueprint and just run a working class agenda. And that definitely hurt her. Also, we're at a point now where Black Americans are asking for more for their vote, and she didn't offer anything there either until people started complaining. And then by that point, it was already too late. So there's that. I don't know, man. I think everybody's just trying to find somebody else to blame. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.